won't always attack you with weapons. Most of the time, they use whispers, questions behind your back, doubts planted like seeds, and the moment you respond emotionally, you've already lost the game. In a world that thrives on noise, your silence becomes your strongest defense. The Stoics knew this. They didn't scream their power. They didn't plead for respect. They lived by a principle far more terrifying to their enemies: detachment. Because the moment you stop needing anything from others, you become untouchable. Epictetus was born a slave. He had nothing, not even freedom, but he learned the secret: they can chain your body, but not your mind. From that moment, he stopped playing by their rules. He didn't react, he observed. He chose every word, every movement with precision, and that's what makes someone dangerous. Not loud threats, but calm calculation. If you want to survive in a world driven by ego, appearance, and manipulation, you must become a fortress, not just to keep others out, but to keep your emotions in check, because the easiest person to destroy is the one who reacts without thinking. Every time you explain yourself to people who don't respect you, you give them ammunition. Every time you try to prove your worth, you've already conceded it was in question. So here's the first law of untouchability. Do not explain. Do not justify. Do not beg. You are not a book everyone deserves to read. You are a locked vault. Let them wonder what's inside. Let them fear opening it. Seneca warned, "He who suffers before it is necessary, suffers more than is necessary." Most people are already in emotional debt before life even tests them. They rehearse heartbreak. They worry about betrayal. They assume rejection before it happens. And in doing so, they hand over their power in advance. Stop bleeding before the wound. Train yourself to respond, not react. When someone insults you, remain still. When someone doubts you, remain still. When life tests you, remain still. Stillness is not weakness, it is preparation. It is strength waiting to strike. If it must, let them think you're harmless. Let them underestimate you. That is your advantage. Because the second law is this: do not be predictable. Predictability breeds control. If they know what you'll do, they can trap you. But if they can't read you, they can't stop you. You don't need to be feared. You need to be unreadable. And that's not mystery for the sake of ego. That's strategy. The samurai called this fudshin, an immovable mind. The ability to act with calm in chaos. Not because you are numb, but because you are clear. So many people collapse, not from pressure, but from noise. Too many opinions. Too many inputs. Too many attachments. Here's the third law: control your access. You don't owe the world your constant availability. You don't need to respond to every message, react to every rumor, or entertain every emotional plea. Boundaries aren't barriers, they are gates, and you decide who passes through them. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, but lived like a monk. His power didn't come from controlling people. It came from controlling himself. He knew that leadership without self-discipline is just chaos in a crown. You want to lead your life? Start by mastering yourself. That means your schedule, your words, your impulses, your inner world. Here's the fourth law of untouchability. Disengage from anything that doesn't serve your purpose. Not because you're cold, but because your time is sacred. Energy is currency, and attention is how you spend it. If you hand your energy to distractions, drama, or dead ends, don't be surprised when you feel spiritually bankrupt. Want peace? Remove the need to respond to nonsense. Want clarity? Step away from noise. Want power? Hold your energy like royalty holds gold, sparingly and with strategy. There's something terrifying about a person who doesn't flinch, who doesn't chase, who doesn't prove, because that kind of person has already mastered the war within. You don't become untouchable by building walls around your heart. You become untouchable by knowing exactly when and why to open the gates, by leading your life through principle. Not pressure. You will be tested. They will try to provoke you. They will label your distance as arrogance, your silence as weakness, your self-control as emptiness. Let them, because the final law is this: don't correct their misunderstanding. Let your results speak. Philosophers don't argue with fools. They let the fools expose themselves, and that's where your ultimate power lies. Not in domination, but in restraint. Laozi once said, "He who conquers others is strong. He who conquers himself is mighty." You want to be untouchable. Stop being reactive. Start being intentional. Let your silence be strategic. Let your presence be unsettling. Let your actions be rare, but final. The world will keep spinning in chaos. People will keep gossiping, challenging, testing. But you walk steady. You think long. You move sharp, because you are not here to be liked. You are here to be respected, to be watched, to be remembered. Not because you shouted, but because you never needed to. You see, most people live like open books, flipping every page for strangers who haven't earned the right to read. They overshare. They overreact. They overcompensate. Why? Because they fear invisibility. They fear being misunderstood. But that fear is exactly what makes them vulnerable. A lion doesn't explain itself to sheep. It doesn't roar to prove it's dangerous. It walks with presence, with certainty, with an energy that says, "I do not chase. I choose." You must become that. Don't be everywhere. Don't speak all the time. Don't give everyone access to your thoughts. The fewer moves you make, the more powerful each one becomes. This is the philosophy of strategic stillness. It doesn't mean you're passive. It means you're precise. You don't react to every insult. You wait, you watch, and when you move, it's final. The world today worships speed. More, faster, louder. But power lives in the opposite. In pause, in poise, in presence. The samurai practiced sanshin, a state of relaxed awareness, eyes wide open, calm in stillness, ready in silence. You want to be feared in the right way, be unpredictable, be still when they expect rage, smile when they expect fear, disappear when they expect retaliation. Let them prepare for a battle that never arrives. That's the art of war. That's the heart of philosophy. Look at nature. The most powerful forces make no noise. The tides don't argue. The sun doesn't beg. The mountain doesn't move because of insults. Learn from that. If they can provoke you, they own you. The Stoics knew this truth well. They called it apatheia, not apatheia as in indifference, but a state of inner peace untouched by external chaos. Imagine being so grounded that nothing external can shake your internal compass. No betrayal, no rumor, no injustice, not because you don't care, but because you know that responding emotionally strengthens your enemies. This is the way of the untouchable. You master your attention because what you focus on grows, so don't feed what weakens you. Don't explain yourself to noise. Don't lower your frequency to meet others in the mud. You elevate. Silently, consistently, relentlessly. Let your transformation be confusing. Let your silence offend them. Let your presence speak so loudly that your absence feels like thunder. There's nothing more threatening to a world obsessed with validation than a man or woman who doesn't need it. So become that. Take a vow today to guard your mind like a kingdom, to speak less but with weight, to move slowly but with purpose. If they don't understand you, that's fine. If they underestimate you, that's perfect. Because those who are truly powerful rarely look like it on the surface. They walk through life like shadows, quiet, present and lethal when necessary. And one day, while others are busy explaining, defending, proving, you'll be building, you'll be creating, you'll be executing. That's your revenge. That's your legacy. So remember, silence is not weakness, it's strategy. Stillness is not laziness, it's readiness. Detachment is not coldness, it's control. You don't need to raise your voice. You need to raise your standards. You don't need to defend your value. You need to live it. You don't need to win every argument. You need to win your life. So when they talk, listen quietly. When they attack, watch closely. When they expect fire, be the calm before the storm. Because the final move of a master is not to react, it is to rise above the entire game. And when you do, you become untouchable. They will tell you to fight for your place, to hustle, to shout louder, to prove them wrong. But understand this, real power doesn't compete. It creates new spaces entirely. It walks into rooms like it already owns them, not because it seeks validation, but because it has nothing to prove. You must become that kind of presence. Detachment does not mean you care less. It means you no longer hand your peace to people too careless to hold it. And solitude. It is not punishment. It is preparation. A sanctuary where your mind sharpens, your vision clears, your silence becomes a weapon. Let others chase popularity. You chase alignment. Let others be liked. You become respected. Let others seek approval. You seek truth. This is the path of those who lead themselves, who no longer ask, will they accept me? But rather, is this aligned with who I am becoming? Because once you stop betraying yourself just to belong, you become unshakable. People will project their fears onto you. They will call your silence arrogance, your distance cruelty, your confidence ego. Let them. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your boundaries, your standards, your evolution. You're not cold, you're clear. You're not distant, you're focused. You're not emotionless, you're emotionally sovereign. The world has too many people who speak fast and think slow, who chase love but run from healing, who look wise but act impulsively. Be the opposite. Become the kind of human who walks away when it's time, without rage, without guilt, without drama. Because when you truly know your worth, silence is your response, distance is your defense, presence is your proof. You don't argue with chaos. You don't wrestle with small minds. You don't explain us to those who only see scribbles. Your energy is sacred. Guard it, feed it, elevate it. Let your actions be like water, quiet but essential. Let your emotions be like wind felt but not seen. Let your presence be like fire, calm until necessary. Don't forget, philosophy is not just theory. It is how you carry yourself when no one is watching. It's how you respond to betrayal with dignity, how you endure loneliness without self-abandonment, how you turn pain into precision. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet still wrote in his journal, "Be indifferent to what makes no difference." He didn't seek applause. He sought alignment. You must do the same. Stop chasing closure. Stop chasing explanations. Stop reopening wounds just to make others feel comfortable. Heal in private. Grow in silence. Let your life speak for you. And one day, they will wonder how you did it. How you stayed so calm when the world lost its mind. How you moved forward when everything begged you to break. How you became untouchable. And you will smile, not out of pride, but because you remember the version of you who used to beg for peace instead of becoming it. That version died quietly, so this one could live loudly. So take one last breath, not for them, not for the past, not for what they did or didn't do, but for yourself. For the self you buried beneath apologies. For the self that no longer bends to survive, but stands to lead. This is not just survival. This is rebirth. Let your silence speak. Let your stillness move mountains. Let your detachment rebuild empires. And when they ask you why you're so calm, so untouchable, so unwavering, tell them, I stopped trying to be understood and started understanding myself. There is a moment, subtle, quiet, where you realize you are no longer the person they remember. You outgrew the version of yourself that needed their permission. You shed the skin that once made others comfortable, and it was painful, but necessary. Growth rarely announces itself with celebration. It arrives disguised as loneliness, as confusion, as a shedding of people, of patterns, of priorities. You begin to see through illusions. That noise isn't power, That charm isn't character. That validation isn't love. You begin to realize that most people are not searching for truth. They're searching for comfort, and truth rarely provides it. So they will label you too intense, too quiet, too deep, too distant. But you were never too much. They were simply too distracted. See, transformation isn't loud. It doesn't need witnesses. It happens in the cocoon, messy, dark, alone, where wings are built in silence, and flight is rehearsed in imagination, long before anyone sees it. You do not need to announce your evolution. You just need to live it. Let them think you disappeared. Let them believe you went quiet. They'll never know you were becoming someone they'll never have access to again. We live in a world that worships speed, but the soul unfolds slowly. It takes time to meet yourself without the masks. It takes time to stop performing and start being. It takes time to realize you don't want revenge. You want release. You want freedom from the cycles, freedom from the loops, freedom from the parts of you that once confused pain with passion and chaos with connection. And that's when you learn, stillness is not stagnation, it's clarity. Detachment is not bitterness, it's wisdom. Boundaries are not walls, they are doors that only those who know how to knock with respect will ever walk through. And your peace, your hard-earned battle-forged peace, is not a luxury, it's your baseline. You owe it to yourself to no longer let anyone turn your soul into a battlefield, because the more you heal, the less impressed you become with performance, with projection, with attention that disappears when your silence no longer entertains. You begin to crave depth, stillness, authenticity. The quiet moments where nothing needs to be said, because everything is understood. You stop needing to explain your standards. You simply live by them. You stop needing to be liked. You start respecting your own company. You stop chasing what collapses every time you stop holding it together, and then it hits you. This is what real freedom feels like. Not being unbothered, but being unowned. Not escaping pain, but mastering how to respond to it. Not building a perfect life, but building an inner world so solid, so rooted, that no storm outside can destroy the calm within. You become the storm and the calm, the question and the answer, the fire and the water, and from that place, you no longer react, you choose, you no longer perform, you embody, you no longer chase, you attract. You realize the most revolutionary act in a world built on control is to know yourself fully, and to live that truth without apology. And that is the greatest form of rebellion, to become someone so whole that no system, no wound, no illusion can fracture you again. There's a strange grief that comes with self-awareness, a mourning of the person you once were, and of the world you once believed in. You begin to understand that most of your suffering didn't come from events themselves, but from the meanings you assigned to them, from the expectations you carried, from the stories you told yourself to make sense of things that were never meant to make sense. You told yourself they loved you because you needed them to. You told yourself you were at fault because you didn't want to believe that some people harm without reason. You told yourself it would all be worth it if you just held on long enough. But some things are not meant to be fixed. They are meant to be learned from. And some people are not meant to stay. They are meant to awaken parts of you that only pain can access. The truth is, not everyone who hurts you is evil, and not everyone who holds you is good. Maturity is learning to sit with contradictions without needing to resolve them. It's learning that people can love you and still betray you, that you can forgive someone and never speak to them again. That closure is a self-given gift, not something you receive from the ones who broke you. And somewhere in all of this, you realize you're not searching for answers anymore. You're learning to live the questions. You're not seeking permanent happiness. You're seeking presence, the ability to fully inhabit a moment even when it aches, because life is not a linear climb toward enlightenment. It is a spiral, and every time you return to a familiar place, you do so with new eyes. That argument you once feared, you now meet with calm. That silence that used to feel like punishment, you now greet like a friend. That old wound you tried to bury, you now tend to like a garden. This is growth, not loud, not always visible, but deeply, deeply real. And then comes the reckoning. You've spent so much of your life trying to be enough for others, that you forgot what it means to be enough for yourself. So you stop asking, who do they need me to be? And you begin to ask, who am I when no one is watching? You strip away the borrowed identities, the roles you played to keep the peace, the masks you wore to fit in, the silence you kept to survive. You stop shrinking so others can feel comfortable in their smallness. You stop editing yourself to meet expectations you never agreed to, and in that emptiness, something sacred grows, not a version of you that's perfect, but a version that's honest, messy, vulnerable, powerful, the kind of person who doesn't seek to impress, but to express, not to dominate the room, but to deepen the energy in it. You stop performing success and start defining it in your own terms. Peace over popularity, depth over distraction, truth over comfort. And then, a strange peace settles in. You begin to trust life again, not because it's safe, but because you are strong. You begin to open your heart again, not because others have changed, but because you've learned how to protect it without closing it. And this is when you understand the goal was never perfection, it was integration, bringing your brokenness home, turning your shadows into teachers, becoming whole, not by erasing your flaws, but by loving them into balance. This is what liberation looks like. Not the absence of struggle, but the absence of self-abandonment. You no longer leave yourself for approval, for attention, for a place at someone else's table, because now, you've built your own, and around it gather only those who see your soul, not your performance, who honor your silence as much as your words, who walk beside you not out of need, but out of resonance. And from this place, you begin to live differently, not faster, not louder, but fuller. You no longer chase time, you move with it. You no longer fear endings, you embrace them as portals into new beginnings. You no longer resist change, you become it. Because now, you know you are not here to prove, you are here to embody. You are not here to win, you are here to wake up. You are not here to survive life, but to feel it, to meet it, to love it, in all its unbearable beauty. And in doing so, you become something rare, not perfect, but free.